Hi, it's Wednesday. You know what that means. Time for the Southern California Writers Association Hump Day Book Tour. I'm Maddie Margarita here with Diana Pardee on Tech. Every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, the Southern California Writers Association turns our Facebook group over to a new writer to introduce their work, their books, and maybe share a writing tip or two. So grab a cup of coffee and enjoy as the Southern California Writers Association Hump Day Book Tour proudly presents Greta Boris. Welcome, Greta.
Hi, Maddie.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm happy and healthy, thank goodness, in lockdown.
Good. Here to talk to us about the 7 sins.
Yeah, except for I'm really only going to talk about 5 of them because the other 2 haven't been written yet.
Well, that's how people keep coming back. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the book series?
Sure. So back when I was before I was published and I was thinking about writing, I knew I wanted to write psychological suspense because that's what I was really reading a lot of at the time. And psychological suspense kind of comes from the point of view of a protagonist who's sort of an everyman or every woman kind of person. So they're not a Navy SEAL, they're not, you know, a quirky detective, they're not a police detective, they're none of those things. They're hairdressers and real estate agents and insurance sales. You know, they're your neighbors. They're the people you meet in the grocery store who run into some really life-threatening, horrible circumstances and then have to figure their way out of it. And those kind of stories really fascinate me. So that's what I wanted to write. But I also knew that series really sell in fiction. They're pretty hot. So I was trying to figure out how to write a series and yet have this everyman kind of a protagonist. And I quickly realized you can't have every book come from the point of view of the same character because real estate agents just can't bump into serial killers every couple of months. It's just not very realistic, right? So I took a class on series writing and I learned there's a bunch of different kinds. And one kind of series seemed perfect for what I wanted to do. And it's called a loosely linked standalone series, which means each book in the series is a standalone. They do have their own protagonist, but they're linked by the world or something. So a great example of this would be Tana French's books, what are they called? The Murder Squad books. So each one is a standalone story. It's its own detective, it's its own mystery, but they're all linked by the world, which is this murder squad in Ireland. So I decided to do the world of the 7 deadly sins. And that became my link for the series. So the series is all set here in sunny Southern California. In fact, the tagline the publisher came up with is that they expose the dark side of sunny Southern California. And then each book has a different main character in a subtle theme of one of the 7 deadly sins. So I like it to not be very obvious. And so lust isn't just about sexual lust. Yes, there is some sexual lust in there, but it's also about lust for success and lust for money and lust for position. It kind of encompasses a lot. And that way I hope the books don't seem preachy or trite. They hit a loose theme, but I really try to focus on the story and the arc of the main character. So that is how this series came about. I also say that my life and my work is kind of like a Real Housewife meets Dante's Inferno. And that is because there is a little bit of inspiration from Dante's Inferno in each book as well. And the way that Dante chose to punish those sins is inserted in the book. And it's kind of Easter eggish. Sometimes you have to know, like for instance, in Lust, the main characters are Gwen Art, her husband, and Lance, who is another real estate agent that she's kind of interested in. Well, Guinevere and Lancelot are punished in the first circle of hell by Dante for having a fling, you know, and cuckolding poor Art. So it's just a sort of fun, loose little bit. So like I said, I have 5 so far. So I have Lust, I have Wrath, I have Sloth. This is one of my faves. I have Envy. And then my most recent release is A Pinch of Gluttony. And this one was a lot of fun to write. My main character is a personal chef. She owns a gourmet cooking supply store, and she also does in-home cooking classes. And at the end of Envy, she is the best friend of the main character in Envy. Oh, that's another thing about the series. I do have characters weave their way in and out of other people's stories. So she is the best friend of the main character in Envy, and so she takes her place as the protagonist in Gluttony. And anyway, the book opens because she had learned at the end of the other book that she has high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all the things that shouldn't be high are high, her weight, and everything that should be low is not. And her husband is this very fit firefighter, and he's so excited to be like her personal trainer. So he takes her on this big hike in Black Star Canyon, and which she's not happy about. And when she sits on a rock to kind of take a break, she sees a hiking boot and can't figure out why there's a hiking boot way up there on the mountain. When she gets up, she gives it a kick, and it doesn't fly away because it's attached to something that is buried in the ground. So you can see where it goes. And that opening was actually inspired by a hiking trip that my husband took with a bunch of Boy Scouts. And they did find a dead body, but it was up on Saddleback Mountain, not in Black Star. But I chose Black Star as a primary setting for this book because it is supposed to be the most haunted hiking trail in Orange County. And actually, maybe even in California. It just depends on who you talk to. There was a terrible, not a murder scene, it was I can't think of the word. A bunch of Native Americans were slaughtered up there by some mountain men. And so it's always said to be haunted by those Native Americans. Plus, there's been a lot of strange crimes up there. So I kind of capitalized on that, and I created a whole prepper compound up in Black Star Canyon that my main character inadvertently stumbles into. And so just a whole lot of bad fun goes on in Gluttony. It was one of my very fun favorite books to write. So let's see, what else can I tell you about it? Oh, this is just a fun little side note. Orange Coast Magazine interviewed me for their October issue, and I got to meet with a photographer out at Black Star Canyon, and she took a bunch of pictures of me and the book and stuff on the trail. So that's coming out in October. So that's just kind of a fun note.
So, well, that sounds great. So you have the 5 sins. We're looking forward to 2 more sins. Yeah. Which 2 sins are we anticipating?
Okay, so the next one to come out, which should come out early 2021, is The Key of Greed. And it's the daughter of my main character in Gluttony. And I'm kind of riffing off of Rebecca a little bit, which is one of my all-time favorite thriller novels. That one is going to take place primarily in San Clemente in an estate that is sort of loosely based on the Nixon White House, but it's obviously not really. It's a fictitious place, but kind of based on that. And then the last sin is the biggie. It's the grand finale, the father, mother, sister, brother of all sins, which is pride. And that one comes out probably the end of 2021 or the beginning of 2022. And that'll wrap up the whole series. I'm going to try to bring back a number of the characters and just make it a big, fun grand finale.
Okay, so I have to ask you, has this series been easier to write as you went along or more difficult?
Really In some ways easier because I'm a better writer. So I learned a ton from my first editor. She was also a writing instructor at a university. So there was school. It was one-on-one school, and that was amazing and wonderful. And I learned a lot. So I do feel like as far as story structure and pacing and all those things, the books have gotten better and I'm better at it. But then it's also tricky because you don't want to start sounding like a one-trick pony. You know, like you want to have new ideas, new dilemmas. You don't want your readers to be able to figure everything out from the opening and go, oh, this is one of those Greta Boris sin books. I know what's going to happen. So then that part is definitely trickier.
Okay. And what are you working on now? I know you're working on the next one, but.
Yes, but I also took a little break on that. And I am starting a brand new series, and it's a little more humorous, a little more traditional mystery. It's going to be called the Mortician Murder Mystery Series. And the first book features a rockabilly hairdresser who gets called on to do the hair and makeup for one of her clients' funerals. And she's kind of flipped out about it, but she needs the money. So when she gets to the mortuary, she discovers that her client's death, much like her hair color, wasn't as natural as everybody thought it was. And it kind of goes for so that should also be coming out early 2021, and I am having so much fun. I think with this COVID lockdown, my 7 deadly sins are a little more serious, and it's just I needed to write something a little more. I know it doesn't sound lighthearted because it's all about morticians and dead bodies, but
no, it does. And anybody who knows you knows that it would probably have to be with that kind of a premise would have to be a little lighthearted.
yes.
So I'm going to ask you our final question for you is: when someone reads a Greta Boris novel, what or a novel written by Greta Boris, what can they expect to find?
Well, that's a very good question, Maddie. Hopefully a good, taut, gripping story that pulls them forward. You know, that's a big aim, something, a page turner, something that captivates you and keeps you going, characters that feel real, all those things. A second layer under that, I do like to ponder life, and I like to ponder things like what's important to us, and I hope I show that in my characters' arcs, that often they start out sometimes even a little annoying to readers, but by the end they've learned some kind of life lesson. So I hope that I have a little bit more thoughtful layer underneath, and then you will, at this point anyway, unless I really change, you're always going to get a happy ending, because I don't like, I mean, there may be sad things that happen and sad things that, because it's murder, right? Murder is never exactly happy, but that it will wrap up with justice. It'll wrap up in a satisfying way that makes you just feel pretty good or better about life than you felt, hopefully, at the beginning of the novel when all the problems were erupting around you.
Well, I think we can all use a little bit of that these days. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Where can people get your books, Greta? Where can they find them?
Well, anywhere fine books are sold. So, you know, they're on Amazon, they're on Kobo, they're on Barnes and Noble, all the online sites. They're in a couple of brick and mortar bookstores if anybody's heading there, but not too many of those. I also have a free novella on my website for anybody who wants just a little taste. It's called Escape Room, and it's about a mom and her little girl who go to one of those escape room fun things, but of course it gets nasty and not so easy to escape from once they're in there.
Yeah. So what is your website is what, Greta?
It's just my name, gretaboris.com, and if you go there, it'll pop up, or you can go to the Join the Community page. Either way, if you want to get the novella.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thanks for sharing a little bit about you and your books. They sound wonderful. Anybody who's interested in reading thriller mysteries set in Southern California with a twist, I think these sound like a great series, and we look forward to your other books. Best of luck
Thank
with
you.
those. So I want to thank you for being here. I hope if you are with us now that you on YouTube, that you will like, subscribe, and share. And if you're interested in more videos like this and meeting new authors, please continue to either go to YouTube, our YouTube channel, which is Writers Online, or go to our Facebook group at Southern California Writers Association. So until next week, please everybody stay safe and happy, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Bye, Greta.
Bye, guys.